Kelowna Beer Institute was really cool because it was Thursday night football.
Yes.
And my family is from Wisconsin, so just a bunch of cheeseheads, right? All Packers fans. Who do we run into? All Packers fans at Kelowna Beer Institute.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Worldwide Honeymoon Travel Podcast, the podcast that talks about all things couples travel, including destinations, tips, advice, and more. I'm Chris.
I'm Kat.
And this is episode number 243. What a great day.
Yeah. What happened today?
1989 Taylor's version dropped.
Yeah, it did.
Right?
So I wasn't trying to stay up until midnight, but then all of a sudden I looked and it was 11:15 and I was like, I might as well stay up till midnight to hear the vault tracks.
Gotta.
Which I did.
Were those the only ones you listened to at midnight?
Yeah, because I didn't want to listen to the whole album.
Favorite vault track?
Slut is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one's a good one. What's yours?
I have not listened to all of the vault tracks other than Slut.
They're all great. I think
because that was the one that got the most press today, I think.
Yeah. I liked Are We Over Yet? Are We Over Now? I think out of all the vault tracks she's released with her re-records, this is my favorite. And Speak Now had some good ones.
Speak Now has the GOAT song.
Yeah, but that's not a vault track.
I know it's not a vault.
That's always been there.
Right, but
We Know You Love Back to December.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, well.
And Long Live.
That's true. There were some good ones from there.
Yeah.
Enchanted, yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
But yeah, big day.
Big day.
Another Taylor's version dropping.
Yeah.
A week after.
This is the Worldwide Honeymoon Travel Podcast, Taylor's version.
Taylor's
just kidding.
Catherine's version. A week after you went to see the Eras movie with friends that you were going to see the Eras tour with.
Yeah. So in May of next year, I'm planning to go with my best friend from college and my best friend from the blogging world. We're going to, from travel blogging, we're going to Sweden. Well, we're going to go to France first and do a Loire Valley little getaway.
Have you been to France?
We get it, Christopher. But no, we rented an Airbnb castle, which is really cool. So we're very excited for the Loire Valley trip. But then we're going to go to Sweden to go to Stockholm and see the Eras tour there. So, but last weekend, we all got together. We made friendship bracelets. We did I did a theme where, there are songs that you get kind of confused what the lyrics are. And so you think it's one thing, but then it's actually another, like Starbucks Lovers, or He Looks So Pretty Like a Devil, instead of He Looks Up Grinning Like a Devil, or Long List of Ex-Lovers. So I made a bunch of friendship bracelets that say things like Starbucks Lovers and Pretty Like a Devil. And
is this something that is well known within the Taylor fandom, or are these going to be very unique bracelets?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Well, Megan,
losing card game bets with Dottie?
Yes, I thought it. Oh, yes. So I made a couple of friendship bracelets saying I owe Dottie.
That was my idea. Do you remember us having this conversation?
Yeah, because I was like,
that's
Dottie,
so niche.
Dottie sounds like, because I love
creative.
The Last Great American Dynasty from Folklore. That's probably my favorite song off that album. And I remember listening to that, and I always thought up until a week ago that it was losing card game bets with Dottie. And I was like, oh, that must be one of her friends that they mentioned coming in from the city. Dottie. I mean, that sounds like a name from that time period. And then we looked it up, and it was Dali, like the painter, like the artist.
Salvador.
So I'm like, now I have, and then I made the friendship bracelets being like, well, I clearly got that wrong. So I just have friendship bracelets that say I owe Dottie. And it's very niche. I think a lot of people are going to get Starbucks Lovers because even Taylor Swift's dad apparently thought that it said Starbucks Lovers.
Did you try and trade these friendship bracelets with anyone at the movie or no?
No, because the movie wasn't super crowded. It was a lot of 11-year-old girls and their parents and then maybe a handful of other people our age.
How were the parents doing? Were they into it, or were they
Oh, yeah. Well, it was the moms, so they were into it.
Guys can't be into Taylor Swift?
I mean, they can be, but there weren't.
Love Taylor Swift.
Movie theater, there weren't. So,
man,
I don't know. Well, do you want to come to Stockholm? I don't have a ticket for you, but
I would love it.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I would.
Okay. But yeah, I finally figured out what outfit I want to do. Anyway, so that's all lots of fun things. I'm very excited for Stockholm, May of 2024. Hopefully that all goes off without a hitch. But yeah.
My main problem with folklore is the song The Last Great American Dynasty.
You love that song.
Yeah, but it's historically inaccurate because you and I are still here.
Okay, get out of here. Okay.
It took you a while, but
good grief.
But here we are. Yeah, that was a big thing today, not the movie, but 1989 Taylor's version. Tottenham just won. I mean, what a great way to go into the weekend.
And now we're recording.
I mean, the creme de la creme.
Creme de la creme.
Yes.
But what are we talking about today? Because let's move on from Taylor Swift. Because this is not the soccer podcast. This is not the Taylor Swift, Taylor's version, whatever podcast. We're the Worldwide
Catherine's
Honeymoon
version.
The Catherine's version.
Yeah.
We are the Worldwide Honeymoon Travel Podcast. So,
well, before we get into what we're talking about, I also want to say that because it's been a while since we've recorded.
Yes.
Last weekend we went to a comedy show downtown, and we saw Kelsey Cook.
Oh yes.
And multiple openers. It was really fun.
Yes.
I had not been. I mean, we saw Taylor Tomlinson earlier this year. I love stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
I really do.
I do too. I love watching it on Netflix. Like, I love watching all the Netflix stand-up comedy stuff. But yeah, I was excited to see Taylor Tomlinson when she came to Cleveland. And then, yeah, this was funny. I was crying laughing at Kelsey Cook.
I was too. I thought it was
so
really funny. And I thought there was, she had two openers. One was a guy by the name of Tommy Brennan, if I'm remembering correctly. And I thought he had some really good jokes.
I know when we walked in, someone said that he was about to make it pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but he was very funny as well.
It was good. Yeah. It was good. And then also after the show, two listeners came up to us. Shout out to Val and Dan for introducing themselves and coming up and chatting. We were still riding the high of the show, but it was great to meet you guys.
Yeah.
And thanks for coming up, introducing yourselves.
I know. Thank you. Yeah, it's always fun to meet more listeners and stuff. But yeah. What else outside of Cleveland now? Let's get into our topic of today.
Yes. Today we are going... Oh, do you want to do a highlight?
Oh, my highlight... Oh, man. This past weekend was just really epic. Between my friend coming to visit, us making friendship bracelets, going to the Eras movie, the Kelsey Cook. Just this past weekend.
Okay.
What about you?
Cool. What was my highlight from this past week? Yeah, I would say the comedy show as well. Mm-hmm. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Good chuckles. Always a fan of good chuckles.
Yeah.
All right. So today's topic, we are talking all about traveling to Kelowna, which is in British Columbia, Canada. Mm-hmm. The reason that we went to Kelowna is because I had a conference there. Mm-hmm. And we enjoyed some of the wineries in and around Kelowna as part of the conference. And then we were also able to spend about a half day in Kelowna. You got to see some more of the sites than I did. But yeah, we're talking all about traveling to Kelowna in British Columbia, Canada. Yeah,
this was one of our first times kind of traveling. It's travel for your work this time instead of traveling for my work, which was fun. What was really cool was the conference we went to had a accompanying person's ticket. So if you were a spouse, friend, whatever that wanted to come along, you could pay and have a ticket where basically while Christopher was in his meetings, which you guys had like tastings and things during your meetings, it seemed like it was a good time as well. But while you were in your meetings and learning more things at the conference, they would actually take out the accompanying persons around 2 different wineries and out to lunch and beautiful scenic points. So I'm going to be kind of leading this episode since I got to see a lot more than you did since I went on the accompanying persons tour, and we actually got to see a lot in and around Kelowna and the Okanagan Valley, which is where it's located. Yeah. But beforehand, tell me about your thoughts prior to visiting Kelowna. Had you heard of Kelowna prior to this conference being announced?
I had not. Had you?
Yes, but only in the last year.
Unbelievable.
But only between the last year or two, because I had seen other travel bloggers and writers mention it or like write articles about it.
Really?
Yeah, because in some
for
of the
wine and biking, or
yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly. I mean, there's also a lot of Canadian-based travel bloggers. Like I'm in like a few groups on Facebook, and like they have written about Kelowna, so I'd heard of it basically through them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had not specifically heard of Kelowna. I had heard of Canada. I had also heard of British Columbia.
There you go.
But Kelowna I had not heard of. My thoughts prior to arrival. So really, what we're based on my my program for the conference, right? So like I knew that I knew it more from the research that I had done about the wine area. Less so
because your conference was kind of a wine.
It was wine law.
Yeah, wine focused. Yeah. So we knew it was a wine region.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They only have them in wine regions.
So I had done quite a bit of reading beforehand about like some of the local varietals and that sort of thing. But as far as thoughts prior to arrival, really just expecting a beautiful wine region, right? Mountains, lakes, all of the
topography,
the topography, the natural influences that you would expect in a wine region. So yeah, I was excited though, really excited. What were your thoughts prior?
My thoughts prior, kind of similar to yours. I knew that it was a wine and beer destination just from the other travel blogs that I had seen about it. I kind of pictured it as sort of like a Finger Lakes because it's on a lake. There are mountains and like kind of not super high mountains, but some mountains and some hills and things. I just kind of pictured the Finger Lakes kind of vibe overall. Mountains, Okanagan Lake, which I was excited to see. But I was also, knowing it was a wine region, I was actually kind of not sure how the wine would be necessarily, because I know that even in Northeast Ohio, Niagara on the Lake, which is like another wine region of Canada, is kind of more known for its sweeter wines, its ice wines, light white wines, just simply because it's too far north for the red wines to kind of thrive and get the sunshine and the good weather that they need.
So you thought.
Well, that's what I thought going into it. So I just assumed, it's going to be like a white wine region predominantly, maybe some more dessert wines, kind of like it is here in Northeast Ohio. But yeah, and then I also knew about the wildfire that happened a month before we went. So it was a pretty big, pretty devastating wildfire. They do get wildfires every year around this time, but this one just got closer and closer to Kelowna, and particularly hit West Kelowna on the other side of Lake Okanagan, a little bit harder than downtown Kelowna itself. And yeah, so that I was a little nervous for the month before we left. We weren't even sure if this conference was going to happen, just in light of all of that. But the places we went to were fine, which was good, but you could definitely see some remnants.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we got there. But yeah, so my thoughts prior, I was a little nervous about going in light of the wildfire, and just knew that it was a wine and beer region, and in Canada and in British Columbia, and not too far from Vancouver to fly, because I think it was a 45-minute flight. It was a pretty quick flight. Yeah. But yeah, what were your first impressions?
First impressions, beautiful mountainous area. Beautiful lake. I mean, when we got there, and the hotel that we were staying at was right on the lake. And we were able to just kind of walk around the town. It seemed very it was a very quaint town. I wouldn't necessarily call it a city, right? Like there weren't like big skyscrapers or anything like that. It very much felt like you were visiting a lake town in wine country. Right?
Yes.
There was that feeling, there was that vibe. It was very relaxed.
You can tell that there's quite a boom of people moving there, because there was a lot of new construction, buildings, apartment buildings, houses, stores. I feel like in the last 10, 15 years, it had really picked up speed as being a big destination to go to, not just in Canada or British Columbia, but kind of also in the United States and beyond. So yeah,
absolutely. What were your first impressions?
My first impressions was it's very beautiful. I mean, as soon as we walked out of our hotel, to the lake. The lake is very clear. It's very stunning. It's huge. It's much bigger than you think. It's a very long lake. You did see burnt trees across the lake in West Kelowna particularly. So there were still some things that were happening. I know some vineyards had taken a few hits from that. For the most part, downtown Kelowna, that area seemed fairly normal. It didn't seem like it was terribly affected by it, but the other side of the lake in West Kelowna definitely did get hit by the wildfires, and you could see that across the lake in the mountains, particularly where those trees were. It's actually a warmer and drier climate than I expected, because it's maybe 4.5 hours driving from Vancouver, maybe a 45-minute flight. You would think that it's going to be very similar in climate as Vancouver. Rainy, kind of misty, cool, that sort of thing. Not a lot warmer, a lot drier than you think it is going to be. So they actually get pretty hot summer days. Not as much rain as Vancouver by any means. And I think it's because of those mountains over there. Huge lake, diverse landscapes. And then I also said just really good wine.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit wrong about just assuming it was going to be dessert wine and like lighter white wines. Yeah. But let's talk about logistics. Getting there, where to stay, when to visit. There's a couple ways to get there. You can fly into Kelowna. That's what we did. I think it was maybe $100 per person to fly from Vancouver to Kelowna. It's only about a 45-minute flight. It's in British Columbia, so it's not too far to do that. We flew Air Canada there. So you can do that if you want to, because we didn't want to rent a car. If you want to rent a car, especially if you're already visiting Vancouver and you also want to go to Kelowna while you're there, it's 4.5 hours from Vancouver. So if you really want to, you can just drive from Vancouver to Kelowna as well. So it's not that far. It's not quite as far east as like Jasper National Park and all of that stuff. So as far as where to stay, the Delta Hotels by Marriott Grand Okanagan Resort is where we stayed at. It was right on the lake, easy walking distance to almost everywhere downtown, which was great because, again, we didn't have a car. So fantastic. Lots of great restaurants, some breweries, just like museums, things like that nearby. And it also gave us access to the lake. And what I also liked was that the resort, they do charge, I think, was it like a $45 or something? They did charge
$30 resort fee?
It was like a resort fee, but then you also got $30 off at the restaurant every day, or the little like snack shop where you can like pick up coffee or like whatever.
Yes.
Also, they had free wine tastings every day, I think between 3 and 5. So you could try local wine by someone who knows a lot about it. I think it included like their use of their paddleboard, kayak, all that stuff on the property. So a lot of benefits for the resort fee, which was great. So, and it's right on the lake. The views are beautiful. I mean, our view was of both the mountains on one side and the lake as well. And then when to visit, I would recommend probably summer and fall. Winter, unless if you're here to ski and do winter sports, because this area is also known for winter sports. You can go skiing, snowboarding, all of that stuff. So if you're coming for that, I would do that. But if you're coming more for wine tasting, hiking, enjoying the lake, summer and fall are going to be better, especially early fall. And we also went in late September, early November. So we also got to see some of the fall foliage, which was very lovely. And it was still warm enough to be able to walk around and feel comfortable outside and all of those things. So summer and fall is a good time to go visit Kelowna. All right, up next, things to do. So I have written down Okanagan Lake. It's a very large lake. It's a very long and skinny lake as well. So it kind of feels sort of like the Finger Lakes in a way, because a couple years ago I went to the Finger Lakes and felt very similar about that. But there are flight tours from the lake. I saw people taking off on these tiny little planes that are on the water.
Like seaplanes?
Yeah, like seaplanes.
No.
Yeah, there's
seriously?
There are seaplanes. Like, I don't know.
When I was conferencing?
Yes, when you were conferencing, I was walking around because there's this beautiful boardwalk along the lake as well, which I highly recommend walking along.
We walked that.
Yeah. But we saw seaplanes where you could do a flight seeing tour.
Oh my gosh.
Which is really cool. So if you want to like see the mountains as well as the lake and everything, you can do a flight seeing tour. Boating, of course, whether that's kayaking, canoeing, renting a boat. They have places to do that as well. Well, I don't know about yachts, but yeah, I guess if you have a yacht.
I do.
There are beaches. So it does get warm enough in the summer. They said that they definitely got into the hundreds Fahrenheit, 90s Fahrenheit. It gets quite warm in the summer there. So yeah, beaches, which were nice. Other things, so aside from water sports and the lake itself, there's Myra Canyon, which I got to visit. Chris did not. Myra Canyon is very lovely. It has all these trestle bridges that you can either bike along or hike along. There's several of them. I think we only got to see 5 just because of time constraints. This was on the tour that I was on. And it's basically these old rail ways, essentially, these rail bridges and stuff that they've redone and restored for people to use for biking and hiking and walking and that sort of thing. But it's very beautiful. It's right in the mountains, stunning views, beautiful fall foliage when we went. So Myra Canyon was a great place to go. It also had remnants from a tour or a fire that happened, I think, 20 years ago. Because again, this area does tend to get wildfires every year. But yeah, so there was that at Myra Canyon. Knox Mountain Park is actually a beautiful park that overlooks the city. So stunning little park. You can go and walk around. There's some hiking paths, but then there are also great viewpoints because it's on a hill that sort of overlooks downtown Okanagan. So it was really beautiful with the lake and the mountains in the background and just the whole view of the city, which was really cool to see. Our first day that we were there, we went to a couple of these places, the Kelowna Art Gallery, which is a very small art gallery, and it just features a couple of artists at a time. So it's not like a huge art museum featuring like all sorts of art from around the world. It is just going to highlight a couple of artists. And while we were there, we had a local artist that had some of her abstract art and things. There was a permanent collection with sort of more sculptures. And then there was another collection from someone, I think it was a Canadian Japanese artist who had made a bunch of different things there too. So it was a really cool to get to see. It's always changing. I think that was the last day for the Japanese Canadian artist that was there. And we saw someone actually installing a new art exhibit while we were there. So yeah, really cool art museum. It's got a lot of modern art because it does have more modern artists that are featured. So that's a really cool thing. I think it was free when we went. I think it's free on like the first Thursday of the month, I want to say, or like the last Thursday.
It was free when we went.
Yes.
And it didn't take long to go through either, like an hour tops.
Yeah, at the most. But it was a great museum. If you like modern art and want to support local artists, that's a really cool place to go to. But there's another museum we went to that I thought was fascinating, and it was the Okanagan Heritage Museum. And it talks about kind of the origins, like both the topography, how the land came to be,
history of the area,
the indigenous people, the settlements that happened, the crops that grow there, all the way up, basically from the beginnings, essentially, of until now. And it even touched upon the homelessness or the unsheltered in the Okanagan Valley.
This was a really, really well done museum.
It was very well done.
It was, so there was no fee to get in. It was donation based.
Yeah.
But
so we donated, I think they suggested $10 a person.
$10, yeah, I think so. But incredibly informative, very engaging, and very just I don't want to say interactive.
But it was a great way to learn about the area that we're in.
Yes,
because
detail
we didn't have
oriented,
a whole lot of context.
I will say.
Yeah, so it gives you a lot of context. I mean, it even talks about the wildlife of the area, the grape growing, and how that all came to be. There was even an indigenous stories where you could press and they would teach you some of their language, the local language, how Okanagan, or that word, or Kelowna was named, I think it was named after a person that resembled a bear, so they called it like a bear type of place. But yes, fantastic, really, really well done museum. I think if you want to get more context of the area and really leave being like, oh, okay, I understand like the history, that's a great museum. And it even talks about modern day. They even had like a little sports hall of fame, all the things about Kelowna and the Okanagan Valley. So that was really cool. Also breweries. There's some great breweries downtown that you can check out. We went to the Kelowna Beer Institute, as well as B&A Brewery. And if you guys follow us on Untapped, I'm pretty sure Christopher updated all of that stuff on Hoppy Together.
Hoppy_Together.
Oh, Hoppy_Together.
Yes.
Talks all about the beer that we drank, that we rated at Kelowna Beer Institute and B&A Brewery.
Kelowna Beer Institute was really cool because it was Thursday night football.
Yes.
And my family is from Wisconsin, so just a bunch of cheeseheads, right? All Packers fans. Who do we run into? All Packers fans at Kelowna Beer Institute.
Yeah.
So that was pretty fun.
So that was really fun. So we had a flight there and like watched the Packers game. And then we went to B&A Brewery afterward just to try some of the beer there. The last thing I'll mention of things to do in the area, aside from wineries, because I have a whole section dedicated to wineries, is winter sports, skiing. There's skiing, snowboarding, all of that stuff. Crystal Mountain and Big White Ski Resort are some big places in the area to go skiing, snowboarding, all the winter sports. So if you want to go in the wintertime. But now, let's talk about wine in Kelowna. And do you want to talk about some of like what types of wine you can expect to find here?
Sure. So we had a lot of Rieslings. We had a lot of Chardonnays, Pinot Noirs, and Syrahs. I think that those were the prominent varietals.
Yes, and closer to Kelowna itself is known for more of its acidic, fresh, and mineral white wines.
Yes.
The further south you get, closer to, is it Picton? The more south you get in the Okanagan Valley, they can actually support more robust red wines.
Yeah, that was where more of the Syrah and even I think some Malbec.
I think we did. We had tried some Malbec, even some Cab Franc. Those come from more of the southern parts of the Okanagan Valley. But in sort of the centralish bits, which is where Kelowna is at, it's going to be more mineral, acidic white wines.
Yes.
Yeah. So some great wineries to check out while you're there. I feel bad because Christopher didn't get to go to all of these, but I'll just chat about them. So first one I have is the Tantalus Vineyards. Fantastic. This is a flagship, or we had the flagship tasting menu while we were there, which included Chardonnay, Cab Franc Rosé, Riesling, Pinot Noir, and Syrah. And this is the oldest continuous wine growing property in the region. And what I really enjoyed about it is their artwork on the bottle. They have, there's a famous indigenous artist in the area, or he's from the area, who makes different totem pole art and different things like that. And they've actually commissioned him to use some of his art for the labeling, which is really cool. So it's really cool. It's a neat winery. The views, I mean, I've never seen an ugly winery. You know what I mean? Like they're all like beautiful rolling hills and there's the lake. So it's like that. Just picture that. But very delicious. I really enjoyed their Chardonnay, but their Riesling was good as well as their Syrah. Tantalus. I think this may have been my favorite vineyard, but we'll get into that. That was
wow. Okay.
That was actually. I'm sad that you didn't get to try it. Maybe you did get to try some of their wine during some of your wine tastings, but very delicious. The second, number 2, I will mention is Rollingdale Winery, and this actually was one I went to on my own. So the first day we went to one winery, we went to a hotel for lunch, and then we were dropped off. And I wanted to check out a winery that was a little bit smaller, because some of the wineries we did go to were some bigger, more popular wineries. So I wanted to check out one more that was a little bit smaller. And Rollingdale Winery, fantastic. It's in West Kelowna. It's a small family-run, very, very small estate, but it's very delightful. I was the only person in the tasting room when I first went.
That's the best.
Yes, it was great.
Did you get to talk to the winemaker?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, I got to talk to the person working there. She's not the winemaker, but she does do, like, she knows a lot about the wine because she's worked there for a long time.
Sometimes I know that, and this is I think you call it a pro tip, is when you enter a tasting room, sometimes you can kick everyone out so that you can have those one-on-one conversations. I know you love to do that.
Do not do that. Do not do that. But Rollingdale, I tried the Estate Pinot Blanc. Okay. So they're known for their white wines here. Riesling.
I like Pinot Blanc.
Yeah, I like Pinot Blanc as well. Yeah. I actually don't think I've really tried it until I went to the Alsace this past year. Okay. And they're known for their Pinot Blanc, so that was cool to get to try it there. But yeah, the Estate Pinot Blanc, fantastic. Riesling, Pinot Gris, Rosé, and Pinot Noir. And I want to say they have one wine, and it is escaping me whether or not it's the Riesling or the Pinot Gris, that is, they call it the Patio Crusher. And because it's a little sweet, it's like it's perfect for a hot day on a patio. And they joked that it was like the Patio Crusher or like something like that.
That's what I call Negronis.
Okay. But she joked about that, which was fun. So I was,
Patio Crusher.
Yeah, it was like a really cool name that she had for it. So it was really fun.
I like that.
It was a cool winery. And yeah, it was really fun getting to just talk to the people there. And yeah, I love smaller wineries for that reason. You can tell that also with smaller wineries, I think a lot more stuff is done sort of by hand than by machinery. Not that there aren't I feel like all these wineries are fantastic.
Whoa.
But it is whoa.
Out. No, that was not doing no. Whoa.
Whoa. Kicks the tire. No.
Toronto Airport energy.
No, I there were some fantastic wineries here, but I always love kind of the heart and the vibes, I suppose, of smaller wineries. So Rollingdale Winery was a great one.
A little bit of sweat equity.
Swequity, if you will.
Why don't we just say sweat equity?
All right, okay. And then for let's see. I also have Quail's Gate.
I tasted wine from Quail's Gate, but I did not get to go.
Do you recall which wine you tasted?
Oh gosh, it was either Sauvignon Blanc or Rosé.
Okay.
What did you taste?
So, we actually went here, I think it was day 2. We went to Quail's Gate.
For lunch?
No, it was a morning tasting. So day 2, we actually had a morning tasting and a lunch at another winery.
Nothing like a morning tasting.
Well, it was because we started out
Was it a late morning tasting?
It was like 11.
Okay.
Like we got picked up and we went to Knox Mountain Park first.
Oh, okay.
Because we were like, all right, 10 a.m. is a little too early to be, having some wine.
Do you remember when we had our first tasting before 9 o'clock in the morning in Stellenbosch?
In South Africa?
Yes.
It was vacation. Vacation rules, just things go out the window. But Quail's Gate, fantastic winery. It's also a very popular one. We had the Three Wolves Pinot Gris, the Clone 49 Riesling, and they call it clone because they had a lot of clones of various grapes as they started planting them in Kelowna, because I don't believe that winemaking has been there for a long time in Kelowna. That's why it's also not as well known. We had a Pinot Noir, and the Q, which was a blend of Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Syrah. And that actually ended up being my favorite.
Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Syrah. Okay.
Yeah, that was a very good one. So Quail's Gate, fantastic winery. Number 4 is one that we went to, and these are not ordered in any way. I just want you to know that. It's not
Within
like number...
the hour.
No, like this isn't like best to worst or anything like that. Mount Boucherie is where we went to lunch for the second day, and it was actually named for the nearby mountain, so their logo and everything looks like the nearby mountain called Mount Boucherie. That's where we had lunch our second day. And we tried the Rosé, the Sauvignon Blanc, the Semillon mix. And then we had a Gamay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Gris mix. And then also their Summit, which is a Cab Franc, Cab Sauv, Merlot, and Syrah mix. And I will say I liked the Sauvignon Blanc. Oh, no, sorry.
The Semillon?
So the Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon mix. And then it's a Gamay Pinot Noir Pinot Gris mix. Right, yeah, I said that. Never mind.
Those aren't single varietals.
They are not. They're all
blends.
They're all blends.
Okay.
I did
had something from Mount Boucherie as well.
They're great. I actually really enjoyed all their wine because
the blends again.
So there was rosé.
Okay.
So it didn't
just
period. I mean, I know that's. I don't know, but there was Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon as a mix.
Okay.
And then Gamay, Pinot Noir, Pinot Gris as a mix.
I had the rosé.
Okay.
When I tasted.
And then the Cab Franc, Cab Sauv, Merlot, and Syrah mix. All of them were fantastic. We had them with lunch, so all of us were sort of passing around the bottles and just tasting, just to see what they all tasted like.
Ooh.
And it was a good lunch, too. It was fantastic food.
Good.
But yeah, that was a great place. We sat out in the sun. It was fantastic. And we just got to chit-chatting with all the accompanying persons, aka the spouses of all people. It was a great time.
Such a great time.
It was a great time. Tell them, like, our first night when we went out to dinner and we all gathered in the hallway beforehand.
Oh, yeah. We're waiting in the hallway for the coaches, and people are coming up. And they're like, oh, hi, Kat, hi, Kat, hi, Kat. And just killing it internationally.
Was an international businesswoman. No, I had a blast. It was a great bunch of people.
It was a great conference.
That went on
really
the accompanying person's tour. But it was also small enough to where you got to know people really well, which I enjoyed.
Yes.
But anyway, aside from that, another fantastic winery, Phantom Creek, which we went to together on our last day. The one with the statues of the like phantoms out front.
Yeah.
Or like
Yep.
angels or whatever.
Yep.
We tried the Viognier, the Riesling, the Cabernet Sauvignon, the Malbec, and the Cab Franc. And did you have a favorite from those?
I'll
say the Malbec was mine. That was very good. We also did a tour of the facilities.
I want to say the Cab Franc was my favorite.
It was very good. They made some really good red wines.
Yes, the Malbec was also very good. I mean, all of those wines were pretty good, though.
Yeah, and Phantom Creek was actually further south, which makes sense that their red wines were pretty well done. So yes, that was a fantastic place. We got to tour the winery and go to the cellars and all of that stuff too. Poplar Grove, there's another place that we went to. We had the Extra Brut sparkling wine. We had the Pinot Gris. We had the Syrah and the Cab Franc. And I think the Syrah was my favorite here. So again, more south near Picton.
I think the Syrah was my favorite as well.
Yeah, so
I love Syrah, though.
I do love Syrah.
I really do.
So these two were in the southern bit of the Okanagan Valley, so they're more well known for their red wines and red blends and different things like that. And then the last one that I'm going to mention is Mission Hill, which is where we went to dinner our first night of the conference.
Freaking gorgeous.
So stunning. This was easily the most beautiful winery I've ever been to. It looked like...
Ever been to?
I think so. It's beautiful.
Dang. Well, no, I'm saying that as like you've done Champagne, you've done...
Ooh, actually, no, I take it back. There was a place in the Savoie that literally had like medieval ruins in the middle of the vineyard.
Oh, well,
which
dang.
was pretty.
Okay.
And then it's like glaciers and mountains in the background. Okay, I take it back.
Wow.
But other than that, the prettiest vineyard that I had seen on this trip was Mission Hill.
I agree with that, yeah.
Overlooked the lake. It was absolutely stunning. We got to watch the sunset there. Just the estate in general is very beautiful. Easily, I looked at it at first and I was like, this could easily be like a wedding venue for sure. It probably is, but very beautiful. Here we had the Brut, which was fun. I feel like a lot of the places we went to, it was like with the whole group of people from the conference, we automatically just got greeted with sparkling wine.
Group?
Yeah. We had Cab Sav, we had Sauvignon Blanc, and we had Chardonnay. And I would say that the Sauvignon Blanc was my favorite.
I really like the Chardonnay here.
Yeah. So very good white wines at Mission Hill. All right, so those are the wineries. Let's talk about food. Our first place that we went to our first night there, or actually here, let's start our first day that we went there. We got brunch, and we went to the Bohemian Cafe, where I got a fantastic pumpkin pie latte and huevos rancheros.
I also got huevos rancheros.
Yeah. Not the pumpkin pie latte, though.
Not the pumpkin pie latte.
I think that's a seasonal thing, so if you go in the fall... Definitely get that. That was delicious.
They said it's only there in the spring, actually.
Yeah. Okay. I will also, and then for dinner, we went to Rauds, where we got ahi tuna and gnocchi, as well as Arctic char.
Yes.
And I believe that was our first place that we tasted some local wine. So I know we got some Brut, some sparkling wine to start. And then I believe we got the Sauvignon Blanc.
Yes, we did.
Yes, because we got some seafood and stuff. So, yeah. Also, Mission Hill was great. We went there for dinner our first night. We had some steak, salad, very good steak and salad there. And then Hotel El Dorado, I went to my first day that had a fantastic restaurant. It was a buffet with like pasta, fish, and chicken, so it was very good. So obviously can't say too much about it because we did more of the catered thing versus like the actual picking things off a menu, but very delicious. Poplar Grove, where we got lunch the day that we were all together. They had a carrots and kale sort of dish together. I know they also had not ceviche. What is it called? Carpaccio?
Yep.
I believe that's what you got.
I got carpaccio, yeah.
I got the duck confit. Amazing.
I did as well.
And then the apple hazelnut cake, which was very good.
Yes, it was.
And then Mount Boucherie, which is where we went to lunch the second day. Amazing pasta. So we were allowed to choose whether or not we wanted like a salad, a pasta, chicken, or steak. And I got the pasta. Fantastic. Amazingly creamy and delicious, but it was still light and refreshing and had lots of veggies in it. So I really, really enjoyed that, especially with the wine. Especially with the white wines at Mount Boucherie. But yeah, I think those are kind of the main places to eat. A little shout out to the little like snack place at our hotel, the Grand Okanagan Resort, because I got the same thing every morning there. I just got like this egg sandwich on a croissant.
It was good.
And it was actually really good. So highly recommend that. But yeah, what was your best meal in Kelowna? and the Okanagan Valley.
Oh man, I think my best meal was probably at Roud's. And I actually we had met some people that had also been there, and they were like, "Oh, the Arctic char." I was okay with the Arctic char. Like, it wasn't anything. Like, I had
the ahi tuna was better.
The ahi tuna was my favorite dish there.
Yeah.
The Arctic char, I was like, okay, like, I almost wish that I would have ordered something different. But the ahi tuna was really good.
Yeah, very good. My favorite was actually the pasta from Mount Boucherie.
There it is.
Fresh, delicious, perfectly cooked. Went with the wine.
Can't beat it.
Fantastic. What was your best drink?
Ooh,
if
that's
you can think off the top of your head, your favorite place that you went to get a good drink.
My best drink. I really like the Syrah at Poplar Grove.
Nice. Mine was the Chardonnay at Tantalus.
Okay.
Yeah, the first vineyard that we went to. That was a fantastic vineyard. Absolutely loved it. The wine, I think, was the best there. Views were the best at Mission Hill, but all great wineries just in general. So, but with all that being said, would you go back? Would you go back to Kelowna to explore more wineries, to actually do more of the sightseeing in Kelowna because you didn't get to do that and that sort of thing?
That's a good question. I feel as though it is even though I was at a conference, I feel as though it was I got a pretty good taste of it. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't necessarily go back solely to visit Kelowna, if that makes sense. Very happy that I visited.
I definitely want to go back to British Columbia and go to like Whistler and all of that area.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree. I'm very happy, and I got to see a lot of Kelowna while I was there. So I was very happy with what I got to see, the wineries I went to, the beautiful parks and things that I got to see while I was there. I'm happy I went, but I don't necessarily need to go back.
Yeah.
I recommend going.
I do as well.
Yes. But I don't think it's a place you need to go back to amongst other places in the world that have wineries and wine growing regions.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah.
Stunning scenery though.
Beautiful though. Absolutely loved it. If you go, I highly recommend spending a few days because then you can enjoy the wineries, or I would recommend maybe 4 or 5 days if you want, because then you can enjoy wineries as well as enjoying the lakes, the hiking, all of that wonderful things. But that's travel to Kelowna and the Okanagan Valley. But let us know your thoughts. Have you guys been here before? Have you heard of the Okanagan Valley before? You can always reach out to us on pretty much all social media at Worldwide Honeymoon except for X, which is at WW Honeymoon, or you can email kat@worldwidehoneymoon.com. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to rate and review our podcast. It takes less than a few minutes and really helps other people find us. Also, if you're enjoying this awesome free information on both the blog and podcast, when you're booking your next trip, head over to worldwidehoneymoon.com/resources and use the links provided. We earn a small commission at no cost to you when you book through these links, and these are all brands and companies we know, love, and use, like Skyscanner for finding the best flight prices, World Nomads for the best travel insurance, TripAdvisor for hotel bookings and reviews, and even Amazon for all of your travel purchases.
Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Wherever you are, wherever you go, remember to make every day a worldwide honeymoon.